Is it visible, Malti?
This can be side, no?
Yes, ma'am. It is visible and audible also.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. There is a technical issue with my computer, and now I'm presenting through Dr. Swarna's computer. So my topic is on principles of quality seed production and maintenance in millets. So coming to this one, actually, before going to the actual principles, we should know the importance of seed, why the seed is so important. Every year, there are several improved cultivars are being released in all millets, including the pearl millets, sorghum, and small millets. In pearl millets and sorghum, there are several hybrids also are being released, and these improved varieties are being cultivated by farmers, and which are as notified varieties through formal seed systems. These formal seed systems are being operated by universities, institutes, various seed corporations and companies. So several principles one should aware of these principles before taking up any seed production of millets or of any crops. So why seed is so important? Seed is important because it should germinate and it should lead for uniform crop establishment, and which will lead the improved variety to exhibit its productivity and yield much more. An improved variety is said to improve the productivity from 15 to 20%, whereas the improved technologies plus production technologies and improved variety together can improve the productivity tune of 30 to 40%, and fodder productivity to the tune of 20 to 35% per hectare. Here, the seed security. What is the seed security? It is the state in which farmer can access the required quantity of seeds of his choice at right time for planting and at reasonable prices. That is called seed security. Here, what are all attributes of seed quality? The seed attributes. What are all the seed quality attributes? It should be in any cultivar, whichever the new or old, which is promising or which is being cultivated by the farmer. The cultivar should have high genetic purity. The variety which is designated to that genetic purity, that should be exhibited, and it should be true to type, and it should have should exhibit all the traits whatever designated by the breeder before release, and it should also have high physical purity. Whenever the crop is harvested, the harvested seed can have a lot of inert matter and even dirt, so much dust and all. This can be cleaned through seed processing, and the seed physical purity standards specified in a Indian minimum seed standard should be maintained. And another important quality attribute of the seed is the physiological seed quality, which is the seed should have high germination and vigor. So the vigor leads to the uniform seed stand establishment, and which that lead to the crop establishment. So the seed also should possess a low moisture content before storage, which can protect from diseases, and also which can prevent the attack of insect pests during storage and all. Then the seed should have the uniform seed size to produce the uniform seed size seedlings when it is sown in field. So the seed should be free from diseases and pests. For this, we have to treat the seed uniformly with fungicides as recommended. Ultimately, after seed processing, the seed should have attractive appearance to meet the marketing standards. Who produces millet seeds? So the millet seeds, there are different classes, right from nucleus seed to certified seed. Nucleus seed, breeder seed, foundation seed, and certified seed. So various organizations are involved here. universities and institutes like ICR institutes like IIMR and all, and seed corporations like national seed corporations, state seed corporations, and private seed companies are involved in this foundation seed production and breeder seed also. And seed growers, they grow on behalf of these organizations, and farmers, they themselves as informal seed systems, they multiply the self-saved seed for next year. Particularly, we can see this type of self-production of seed by FPOs in small millets. And there are types of cultivars. Here we can see majorly the group do hybrids and varieties. Here in case of pearl millet and sorghum, there are hybrids, and whereas in small millets, the varieties are mostly released. And here in pearl millet, two-way hybrids, composites and varieties are popular. And then in case of sorghum, two-way hybrids, three-way hybrids and varieties are popular released. Coming to the principles, actually the principles one should aware what are the basic principles that control the seed quality, ultimate seed quality at various segments. We can see right from generation system of seed multiplication and the genetic purity maintenance, where at various stages of crop growth and environmental influence. So whenever you carry out the seed production, you should aware of the environment, that the climatic factors that those are controlling these seed production practices. And then seed production management. There are special management practices, agronomic practices like grain crop management. The seed has a special crop management practices under these production technologies, right from sowing to harvesting. We should follow these production management technologies to harvest the quality seed and with the high seed yields and all. Then seed processing to maintain the highest physical purity, and safe seed storage management to prevent the pests and diseases and to maintain the seed viability for a long duration. So coming to the seed multiplication chain, there are different classes of seeds what we should know about. Once the variety is released, the cultivar is notified, then the breeder should maintain, breeder from the institute or university, whoever released that variety, or sponsored breeder or sponsored scientist or breeder or seed scientist, they should maintain nucleus seed. And from that nucleus seed, the breeder seed should be multiplied. The breeder seed will be multiplied in little more quantities, and it should have the golden yellow color tag. And from this breeder seed will become the source seed for foundation seed production by seed corporations and all. Then the seed certified seed is the stage from after foundation seed stage. Then for the further multiplication of certified seed, and then this seed becomes the source seed for commercial supply to the farmer for cultivation. In certain cases, when the seed depending on the seed multiplication ratio and seed replacement rates, one can plan at two stages that foundation seed production and certified seed production. So this is actually seed supply chain. Actually, the indents come through state government to Government of India for breeder seed production program. Based on state indents from different seed corporations, private companies, and national seed corporations, and state various associations who are involved in seed production. Based on these indents, Government of India can allocate the breeder seed targets to the ICR institutes like IIMR, and then accordingly, this ICR will plan and allocate the breeder seed production program to the various collaborative centers in universities. Then this breeder seed production will be planned, monitored, and the production quantities will be again communicated to ICR and from ICR to Government of India, and Government of India will inform the state government and the state through state government. These corporations will be informed where they can lift this breeder seed from the production centers, at various universities or institutes, and then the foundation and certified seed production will be planned, and produced, the certified seed will be distributed to the farmers. So this is the schematic representation of entire seed supply chain of various seed classes. So coming to the factors, those are causing for genetic purity deterioration. There are developmental variations. What are these developmental variations? Why these developmental variations happen? Once the seed crop, that seed production program is planned in an area where the variety is non-adaptive. So where the seed crop is grown in non-fertile areas and where more alkaline and more saline soils and where at high elevations and the area with different photo periods at such particular climatic situations which are not suitable or recommended for that particular variety, then these type of developmental variations will happen, and these variations will show differential crop growth responses which are deviant from actual designated crop behavior. Then the mechanical mixtures. These mechanical mixtures are nothing but the mixing of the seed of other crop varieties or wheat seeds or other varietal seeds of the same crop through different machines, right from seed drills to the harvesters and threshing machines and all. So one should be careful at all the stages to avoid the mechanical mixtures from neighboring plots and all. While before using the machines, one should clean the machines thoroughly to avoid mechanical mixtures. And natural crossing with undesirable pollen. One of the major cause for deterioration of varieties is cross pollination through from other varieties of the same crop. When the seed crop is grown without following the isolation standards recommended in minimum seed certification standards, then this type of problem will arise. Every pollen will travel to certain distance, and we have to avoid this one. To prevent this one, we have to maintain isolation distance of seed crop, and we have to raise the seed production crop always in isolation distance, with the isolation distance. And then selective influence of diseases. The seed crop should be thoroughly maintained, and it should not be subjected to any diseases or pests. Otherwise, the crop resulting seed will be of a defective type, and the behavior in the next generation will be different. Some mutations, these are rarely happens, and which is not usually occurs. And the minor genetic variations. This happens, some minor variations in a variety will happen if you are not following a systematic seed multiplication chain. If someone uses the foundation seed as source of foundation seed or the certified seed as the source of certified seed without following the nucleus breeders foundation certified seed chain, this type of minor genetic variations may happen. So the techniques of plant breeder in selection. Every variety should be evaluated and screened and released. Before that, it should be tested and by the plant breeders for full incorporation of the traits to be planned for release and all. So sometimes, for example, disease resistance or stress tolerance, this type of traits, if they are not followed proper breeding method and full generations to incorporate 100% of that one the trait to be incorporated, then without incorporating those in hurriedly, if the variety is released, then such situations, this type of errors may happen in the released variety. So what are all the remedies to maintain the genetic purity? So that we should follow adequate isolation distance to avoid the foreign pollen from unwanted varieties of the same crop. Then frequent roguing should be followed once the crop started establishing the right from seedling stage to harvesting stage. We have to thoroughly check and observe the crop and at every stage, and we have to eradicate the deviants which are doubtful, which are different from the actual crop, the actual variety grown, and raising the seed crops in adaptive areas only to prevent the developmental variations, as I explained earlier slides. and strictly following the generation system of seed multiplication chain, and approved seed source should only be used. We should not use the same class seed for the next multiplication. All the seed multiplication chain should be followed thoroughly. The seed source should be appropriate, and inspection at all stages should be at recommended stages, right? Especially during flowering stage is very important, and at the time of seed maturity also it is important to identify the off types and other crop varieties. And the field inspection at critical stages, that is flowering and harvesting stage. Sampling and testing of seed lots. Once the seed is harvested, and then we have to subject for all the seed quality traits, specific seed standards as recommended for that crop as in Indian minimum seed certification standards. Then to ascertain the genetic purity, we have to go for growth tests also, and best cultural practices should be followed, and attention should be given to avoid mechanical mixtures at all before sowing and even at harvesting stages. So these are the Indian minimum seed certification standards to be followed for sorghum, for open pollinated varieties recommended. These are the field standards. The isolation distance to be followed for varieties is for foundation seed class 200 meters away from other sorghum fields, and for Johnson grass where forest sorghum is there, little more isolation we have to maintain for foundation 400 meters, even for certified seed as well. For specific seed standards concerned, the off types should be for foundation at 0.05 only permitted, whereas for certified seed 0.1% permitted level of off types. Coming to field standards of sorghum hybrids, we can see the increased isolation distance for both the foundation and certified seed classes, whereas for off types are same as 0.05% is permitted level and 0.1% for certified seed. So here you can see the specific seed standards recommended for seed quality maintenance. In case of sorghum, the pure seed should be 98% for both classes, foundation seed, certified seed as well, and inert matter should not be more than 2% for both foundation and certified seed as well. And other crop seed should be not more than 5 number per kg for foundation seed class, whereas in certified seed not more than 10 per kg. Whereas wheat seeds concerned, then 5 only permitted per kg and 10 kg, and other these are all well defined in for all crops here. And the germination should be minimum seed germination should be 75% for both the classes, and moisture if it is packed in the gunny bag packing and all, then 12%. If it is moisture proof, then you have to still reduce the moisture to the 8%. Here coming to the pearl millet is highly cross-pollinated crop, and then compared to sorghum, it is the isolation distance for both the classes should be high. It is 400 meters for foundation seed class of pearl millet varieties, and then the off types are 0.5 for foundation and 0.1%. And coming to the hybrids, then where the specified minimum isolation distance is more than 1 kilometer away from other variety of any other pearl millet variety for foundation seed class, and whereas for certified seed 200 meters away. So other specific requirements are like this, like in previous slides what we have seen, and the specific standard for pure seed inert matter are more or less similarly it is shown like in sorghum here. For small millets also the field standards, since small millets are highly small self-pollinated crops, they are unlike pearl millet and sorghum, then the required isolation distance is very less compared to these major millets, and then only 3 meters is specified for foundation and certified seed as well, and the minimum of types we can or permitted 0.05 and for certified seed the 0.1%. So coming to pure seed, 97% for small in case of small millets, and germination is minimum germination should be 75%, and in moisture vapor proof containers, it should be reduced to the seed moisture should be at 8% level in both the classes. So to maintain genetic purity or the quality of the seed during seed production, one should I have repeatedly telling that all the stages are important to observe the deviants at particularly certain critical stages. At 18 days after sowing, after once the seed crop is established, you should observe that any deviants, any early vigor in the seedling stages only. You can see some seedlings are very weak and compared to a crop, actual majority group of the, then it is a deviant and you have to eradicate that one. At 35 days after sowing, you can see whether in tillering habit and the plant height, if there is any difference, you can identify easily the deviant and you can eradicate, rogue it out. At boot leaf stage also, you can identify that early booting or late booting. That trait you can observe, that the deviants can be observed. And at 50% flowering also, you can observe the early flowering and late flowering type and the panicle type and shape, etc. And you can identify the rogues and remove them. And at maturity, you can identify based on seed characters and even panicle shape and all, and you have to differentiate the deviants and how to pull out those deviants and how to destroy those deviants taking away from the seed production plots. Coming to the influence of environmental factors, how environmental factors play the role in seed production and how they influence the seed quality, one should be aware while before selecting the seed production plot itself. The temperature is very important. For example, sorghum hybrid seed production, if the temperature is more than 37 degrees at flowering time, the seed setting will be poor and the pollen abortion will be there, pollen desiccation will be there, and then the seed setting will be poor, and the rains during particularly the kharif seasons and all, the rains will wash out the pollen grains and the seed setting will be poor and the seed yields will be reduced accordingly, and the relative humidity also, the pollen dispersal will be slow when the relative humidities are high. So one should be have a concern on identifying the suitable or recommended areas only for taking up of millet seed production. So coming to the hybrid seed production plan, hybrid seed production management in case of sorghum, that's a major problem is non-synchronous flowering of male and female parents. Here we can observe at primordial initiation stage the difference between primordial size and all that between male and female parents, and then accordingly we can manage by additional application of urea to the lagging parent and late parent, and then or by supplementing the gibberellic acid 200 ppm if the gap is 2 days or 3 days, and if it is more you can increase the concentration to 400 ppm and you can manage the synchronous flowering, and if it is more a gap between male and female parents, the only transplanting is advisable when both the parents should be raised in nursery, and the staggered sowing should be followed here. And at the once after following the staggered sowing, and then once we can transplant at the same time to the main field of the seed production, and like that you can manage the seed production and plant height adjustment also. This is not a major problem, but in one or few hybrids we experienced earlier, and then you can adjust the short parent by sowing on ridges and the long parents in furrows. So disease related to pollen viability and stigma receptivity during hybrid seed production of sorghum. Here the all male panicles will produce the pollen, the anthers from right top of the panicle. It will pollen they will dehisce, and then the pollen spread will be active at 8 a.m. onwards. Then the climate should be very dry and there should be proper wind direction to spread this pollen to the female panicles, and the stigma receptive on female flowers will usually there for 3 days or even 4 days, and then the pollen should be available to the stigma to set the seed on the female seed, and one should take care that the pollen should be properly spread over the female panicles. During hot summer months, the receptor is lost owing to the desiccation of stigmas. So the summer seed production is not advisable. Then the flowering should not be subjected to more than 37 degrees temperature. So the planting ratio. So one should to have adequate pollen supply from the male parents to the female parents. One should raise the female lines and male lines in proper row ratio. That is 4:2 ratio. 4 lines of female and 2 lines of male are lines are recommended for sorghum seed production. However, it depends on the size of the panicle of the male and the continuity of pollen supply of a male panicle. It varies with hybrid to hybrid. The seed producers, based on their experience, they can even increase the female rows if the adequate pollen is available. Then it all depends. So coming to the pollen dispersal, if under conditions of humid conditions, as I said earlier, that during rainy days and all that pollen spread will be very poor, and then if the wind direction is is slow and all, then you have to use certain methods to disturb the pollen and to spread over the female panicles. You have to follow. Then tapping over the plants, the male panicles, so that you can spread the pollen, disturb the pollen, and so accordingly the pollen will be spread over the female panicles. Then harvest. One should be carefully watch at what time the physiological maturity will reach, and that every crop has a certain stage of physiological maturity where the seed gains the maximum dry weight, and more than that it cannot furthermore develop, and at this stage the seed quality will be at highest peak, and then that stage should be identified. Several research works we have several research recommendations have been made for millets already, and particularly in sorghum, that 37 to 45%, 45 days in between these days after flowering is ideal for harvesting. And once it is harvested, the artificial seed drying is also recommended if the moisture content is more, particularly during Kharif season seed production. And sorting of undesirable earheads at the field itself. If there is any if you feel that it is a deviant, then you can eradicate that one. And while threshing, you have to use clean threshers. Here there is chance of mechanical mixtures. You should avoid mechanical mixture, and at this threshing time you should have low moisture content, which should be at 14% moisture content. And then further, before storage, you have to dry to the minimal seed moisture content, that is 10% is ideal, and if it is moisture proof container, you have to go further drying to the moisture content of 8%. So coming to the pearl millet, there are two situations of seed production in pearl millet. Then one is in rainy season and post rainy season. Most of the northern states like Gujarat, the rainy season cultivation of pearl millet is more by farmers. Here the seed is required in the Kharif season itself. So but the problem is here during Rabi season, the seed cannot be multiplied. The seed can be multiplied in certain areas where non-traditional areas of pearl millet cultivation, like in AP, Nanjal, Kurnool zone area, where pearl millet seed production can be taken up very well, and the seed quality will be high, and usually this is being practiced here in our country. But this seed can be supplied immediately to the Kharif zone areas, but transportation is the problem, and it is a costly venture. But in small local seed producers of Gujarat, they multiply and they maintain the storage, and they can store during Rabi season and use the same seed which was multiplied in Kharif to the next Kharif as source. So one of the important management practices, some of the major important considerations in pearl millet seed production are choice of field and cropping history. So the field should be free from waterlogging, and it should be pearl millet seed production should be preferable on light sandy soils, and the seed plot should be of ideal shape with uniform shape, that with equal length of length and width, and usually that rectangular shape or less width plots are should be avoided, and the cropping history should be aware of it, and then previous crops should not be of pearl millet to avoid volunteer plants of and the soil should respond to proper fertilizer applications, and it should be a fertile soil for seed production plot of pearl millet. So the isolation distance, I already told that in Indian minimum seed certification standards, 1,000 meters, that is 1 kilometer, is the minimum isolation distance to be maintained for hybrid seed plots, and for 400 meters for open pollinated varieties, and under certain situations where some barriers like trees and huge trees and all, then when wide wind direction is high, then you have to go for still more isolation, because if the wind velocity is more than 30 kilometers per hour, the pollen can travel even more than 1 kilometer. Usually, to avoid this, seed village concept is followed in for hybrid seed production plots, wherein some few villages, a cluster of villages, can plan a single hybrid seed production, and there will not be any source of pollen production adjacent fields where the pearl millet crop rising will be restricted. So this way, it is popular for large areas of seed multiplication is being carried out in Nanjal zone of Andhra Pradesh. Coming to the planting ratio, here like in sorghum, I explained the 4:2 ratio, whereas here you can see that 1:3. But even based on our experience, based on the pollen production potential of the male parent, you can even extend the planting ratio from 1:7 ratio also. That male, it all depends on the production ability of the male parent, that how abundant, adequate quantity of the pollen can be supplied to the male parent. Synchronous flowering, like in sorghum, this is also a problem in synchronous flowering of male and female plants in hybrid seed production plots. We have to manage through supplementation of nitrogen at different stages, and we can also manage with additional irrigation by giving the lagging parents. We can manage. So coming to the small millets, these are highly self-pollinated crops, as I told earlier, and there is no problem of much genetic purity loss during seed production, because these are all highly self-pollinated. But we should maintain certain distance as per minimum Indian seed certification standards to avoid any mechanical mixtures or any disease spread or any pest spread type of things. And one should be careful while choosing the seed production plots and agroclimatic zones and all before selection of the plot and all. The plot should be ideal, and it should be well fertile soil and free with good irrigation and drainage facility. And it should have isolation, minimum isolation, though it's not a big problem. And before planning, we should follow seed source, right? Type of class should be used. If it is foundation seed, we should use only breeder seed as the source, and if it is certified seed, we should use only foundation seed as the source. And sowing should be at the right recommended months, but to avoid desiccation during flowering by subjecting to high temperatures during summer temperatures, and one should be careful. So rogging, here also we can identify, so due to mechanical mixtures during processing or otherwise from previous crop, then there may be chances of other crop variety is mixed in seed crop, and then those deviants can be identified at various stages, as I previously explained in slides. accordingly the deviants should be rogued out, and we have to maintain the purity of the seed crop. So weed control, timely measures, what the way, why in the previous presentation by Dr. Swarna explained how to control weed control, and effective weed management and disease and insect management should be followed in seed production also. And nutrition management for good expression of the crop. Always we should maintain the recommended fertilizer process and irrigation at all critical stages, and all harvesting should be done at the physiological maturity. As in case of sorghum, what the way it ranges between 37 to 40 days, and even in small millets it ranges between 35 to 45 days, and it varies with the season to season, and one should be aware that the seed should be physiologically matured, and there are certain indicators, that morphological indices, like black layer formation at the backside hilar end of the seed. One should watch that one. Accordingly, seed should be harvested. So after harvesting, we have to go for seed processing. Then once the seed lot is received, if it contains a lot of inert matter, that is dirt and other crop seeds, weed seeds as well, then we have to go for pre-cleaner, and then after cleaning and separation by upgrading, the various sieves have been recommended. And as per the sieve sizes, the seeds need to be graded, and uniform seed size seed processing should be done. And after that, then seed has to be treated and bagged thoroughly, and then if it is bulk seed, then you can go for bulk seed, or otherwise if it is less quantity, then you can go for cold storage and store for long duration as well. These are the various steps involved in during seed processing here. Then once the seed is received from seed production lot, then the physical quality we have to check based on inert matter and all. We have to go for pre-cleaning. Then we have to, the moisture content is high, we have to go for drying. Then we have to subject this for seed testing. Here comes for seed germination, seed health and vigor will be tested by the STLs, and then based on their STL certification, then we can go for further cleaning, or if it is a satisfactory cleaning, then we can go for bagging and storage. And the various types of bagging or bagging is recommended for small seeds, aluminum foils, and small boxes also you can use. Then if it is bulk packing, that gunny packs and HDP sacks and containers, bins can be used. And during storage, one should take care of temperature, humidity, sanitation, insect pests, rodents, snacks, and all. These are all important things, and clean sanitation should be maintained during storage. So the label, the seed, once it is packed, it should contain all prescribed label standards. That crop should be specified, varietal name should be specified, class of the seed, whether it is breeder seed, foundation seed, like that. Then if you are going for cold storage, then you can store. If it is nucleus or breeder seed, you can go for 15 to 20 degrees centigrade, where you can store the seed with 5 to 7 years. And under safe, because this precious seed cannot be multiplied every year. So the other types of long-term storage are recommended for gene banks. That's all. Thank you. Can you come?